Okay. I need you to really listen to this and tell me if I'm losing my mind. Because my entire family is acting like I'm some kind of villain over a wedding venue. And I swear, if you had asked me a month ago what would almost destroy my relationship with my parents and my sister, I would have laughed. A venue? Really? But here we are. So for context, my fiancé and I have been together for 8 years. 8. We've grown up together. We got engaged 3 years ago, right when I started my PhD. So picture this, I'm juggling research, deadlines, teaching, barely sleeping, and planning a wedding at the same time. It wasn't easy. There were nights I'd be writing academic papers at 1 a.m. and then switching tabs to look at floral arrangements. My fiancé stepped up a lot. He took on so much of the logistics because he knew how stretched I was. And the one thing we both agreed on? The venue. It was our dream venue. The kind of place you walk into and immediately feel it. Like, yeah, this is it. But it was booked out for years. The only way we could get it was to reserve a date 3 years in advance after my graduation. So we did. We built everything around that September date this year. Deposits paid. Contracts signed. Vendors coordinated around it. We've been planning this for 3 years. 3 years. Now enter my sister. She got engaged a few months ago. I was happy for her. Genuinely. She and her fiancé, my future BIL, are sweet together. They were planning a spring wedding next year. Nothing locked in venue-wise yet, but they had vendors and a tentative date. Normal. Fine. No issues. Then yesterday happened. My parents invited us over for a family barbecue. Extended family there. Casual. Burgers, drinks, laughter. And then my sister stands up and announces she's pregnant. Everyone cheers. My nan cries. My mom hugs her. I hug her. I'm excited. I really am. I've always wanted to be an aunt. Then nan asks if the wedding date will change because of the baby. My sister says she's thinking about moving it to September. And in my head I'm like, okay, cool. That's close to mine but not a problem. We don't have many out-of-town guests. People can attend both. Still fine. Then she turns to me. And she says, smiling, in front of everyone. I was really hoping we could kinda take your venue. It went silent. I'm not exaggerating. It felt like someone hit pause on the entire backyard. And everyone just looked at me, like I was expected to laugh and say, of course, anything for you. She starts explaining how she doesn't want the stress of planning while pregnant. How maternity classes will be exhausting. How the venue is so beautiful. How it would mean so much to her. Her fiancé, bless him, looks mortified. He literally says, we talked about this. It's not okay to put her on the spot. And my sister waves him off. Don't be like that. My sister wants what's best for me. It's no big deal, right? Right. I could feel my chest tighten. Because if I say no, I look heartless. If I say yes, I lose something I've been planning for 3 years. So I just say, well, it kind of is a big deal. I've had my heart set on that venue. And that's it. She starts crying. Full tears. Storms inside. And suddenly I'm public enemy number 1. My nan says I'm selfish. My mom says, you waited 3 years. Would it really kill you to wait a few more months? My dad says, it's just a venue. What matters is who you're marrying. And here's the thing, logically, he's not wrong. Of course the marriage matters more. But if it's just a venue, why am I the one who has to give it up? Why is it never just a venue when it's something she wants? My fiancé was furious. I've never seen him that angry. He grabbed my hand and said we were leaving. On the drive home, my phone starts blowing up. My sister calls me sobbing, saying it's unfair that I always get what I want. That I could have done this one thing for her. My dad texts me 5 times saying she hasn't stopped crying and hopes I'm happy. Hopes I'm happy. Like I stole something from her. And then my mom does something that honestly crossed a line I didn't even know existed. She calls my fiancé's parents. And tells them it would be best if my sister got the venue because she's pregnant, and preeclampsia runs in the family. What that has to do with my venue, I have no idea. My future father-in-law did not take that well. He basically told them to stop playing favorites and that they were going to lose me if they kept this up. Later that night, my in-laws drove to our place with dinner and wine. They told me no matter what happens, I have them. I broke down crying. Not because of the drama, but because for the first time in this mess, I felt supported. But wait. It gets worse. The story ended up online. It blew up way more than I expected. My sister saw it. She texted me furious, saying I made her look like a lunatic. That I twisted things. That strangers' opinions don't matter because family is more important. And something in me just snapped. I told her I've bent over backwards for her my whole life. Shared birthdays because she'd throw tantrums if I got more attention. Filled out job applications for her because she'd cry. Let her overshadow my graduation. I told her I'm done being her doormat. She replied, "Wow. You must love me so very much." And blocked me. Then she unblocked me the next morning to send screenshots. Screenshots of my wedding planner saying she received a message from my mother and would proceed with rebooking the venue under my sister's name. I physically felt sick. My own mother tried to transfer my wedding venue behind my back. We immediately called the planner. She was horrified. She said she never spoke to my mom and that legally I have to be present to make any changes. We put passwords on everything. Every vendor. The venue. The florist. The photographer. Everyone. We even cancelled the catering my parents were paying for because we don't trust them not to sabotage it. Now our friends and my fiancé's family are helping us put together a buffet. We cancelled our bachelor and bachelorette parties to cover the extra cost. Instead, we're doing a big cooking day together before the wedding. And honestly, that part feels more real than anything. My older brother called me too. Apparently my parents told him I'd already offered the venue and then humiliated my sister publicly. He didn't believe it for a second. He admitted he partly moved away because of how our parents treated us. He called them shitheads, which made me laugh for the first time in days. So now my sister is out of the bridal party. My aunt, the only family member who defended me, is in. My brother is walking me down the aisle. We're even considering hiring security. Security. For a wedding. Over a venue. I keep replaying my dad's words in my head. It's just a venue. And maybe it is. But it's also the principle. It's the fact that I was put on the spot in front of everyone. The fact that no wasn't an acceptable answer. The fact that my mom tried to override my contract like I'm a child. It's realizing that maybe I've always been expected to shrink so she can shine. And I'm tired. I'm exhausted. I want to get married without feeling guilty for protecting something I worked for. So I need to know. If it's just a venue, then why does it feel like I'm finally standing up for myself for the first time? And am I wrong for not backing down this time? Here's the update. And I genuinely did not think things could get messier, but somehow, they did. After we locked everything down with passwords and confirmed with the planner that no one could touch the contract without me physically there, I finally exhaled a little. For the first time in days, I felt like maybe the worst was over. It wasn't. 2 days after that, my dad showed up at our apartment. No warning. Just knocked on the door like nothing had happened. I almost didn't open it. My fiancé did. And my dad walked in with this whole let's be reasonable adults energy. He said we needed to stop escalating things. That this had gotten out of hand. That my sister is pregnant and under stress and I should be the bigger person. I asked him one simple question. Would you be saying this to her if she were the one who already booked the venue 3 years ago? He didn't answer. He just repeated that family comes first. That my sister's hormones are everywhere. That I'm not being empathetic. And that's when something clicked for me. Because this isn't about hormones. This isn't about pregnancy stress. This is about a pattern. It's always been like this. She wants something. She pushes. If I hesitate, I'm selfish. If I say no, I'm cruel. And my parents smooth it over by asking me to sacrifice because I'm more mature. I told him I wasn't giving up the venue. Not now. Not ever. He left angry. That night my mom sent a long text about how she doesn't recognize the daughter she raised. How I've become cold. How marriage is about compromise, which is ironic, considering I'm the only one being asked to compromise. Then my sister posted something vague on social media. You know the type. Sometimes the people you'd do anything for won't even do the bare minimum for you. I didn't respond. But here's where it gets interesting. My BIL called me again. And this time, he sounded exhausted. He told me they've been fighting non-stop. That he never wanted to move the wedding to September in the first place. That the whole take your venue idea was something my sister became fixated on after my mom said it would be perfect timing before the baby came. So this wasn't even spontaneous. They'd been talking about it. My mom had been encouraging it. He told me he loves my sister, but is worried about how she handles not getting her way. He said he's starting to see things he ignored before. And then he said something that honestly broke my heart a little. She keeps saying you're ruining her marriage. Like, what? Because I won't hand over my wedding? Apparently she's been telling people that if they can't have the venue, the timing doesn't work, and if the timing doesn't work, they'll have to postpone, and postponing is embarrassing. I didn't even know what to say to that. Meanwhile, wedding prep kept moving. Our friends showed up that weekend for the DIY catering day. And I was nervous at first. I felt embarrassed. Like I'd failed somehow by not having the polished, paid-for catering we originally planned. But it turned into one of the best days I've had in months. My fiancé's mom was teaching everyone her family recipes. My friends were chopping vegetables and laughing. My brother drove in from out of town and surprised me with my favorite cake from when we were kids. At one point, I just stood in the kitchen and watched everyone. No tension. No guilt. No manipulation. Just love. And I realized something. This is what a support system feels like. A week later, my sister showed up at my workplace. Yes. At my workplace. She asked if we could talk. We sat in my car in the parking lot like teenagers. She didn't apologize. She said she feels betrayed. That she can't believe I aired family business. That I embarrassed her. That everyone online thinks she's a monster. I told her I never named her. I never exaggerated. I just described what happened. She said, "You could have just given it to me." Like it was that simple. I asked her, calmly, if our roles were reversed, would you give it to me? She didn't answer. She just cried. And for the first time, I didn't rush to fix it. I didn't say sorry. I didn't fold. I just said, "I love you. But I'm not giving you my wedding." She left without hugging me. Since then, things have been quiet. My parents haven't officially said whether they're coming to the wedding. My mom keeps sending passive-aggressive messages about how sad it is when families drift apart. But my brother is solid. My aunt is solid. My in-laws are beyond solid. My fiancé? He's been my rock through all of this. We did end up hiring security. Not because we expect chaos, but because I refuse to spend my wedding day anxious about who might try to make a statement. And here's the twist I didn't expect. Last night, my sister texted me. Not an apology. Just, "Are you still using the white and sage theme?" I stared at it for a full minute. Part of me wanted to snap. Part of me wanted to ignore it. Instead, I just replied, "Yes." She left it on read. So that's where we are. The wedding is still on. The venue is still ours. The passwords are still in place. My brother is walking me down the aisle. My aunt is in the bridal party. And the people who show up will be the ones who actually want to celebrate us. But I won't lie, it still hurts. Not because of the venue. Because I think I'm grieving the version of my family I thought I had. I used to think when big moments happened, weddings, babies, milestones would all come together. Instead, it exposed everything. So now I'm sitting here, weeks out from getting married, feeling strong, but also a little heartbroken. And I keep wondering, did I finally break a toxic cycle? Or did I just break my family? This is the final update. The wedding happened. And somehow, it was both exactly what I imagined and nothing like I expected. So here's how it all went down. About 3 weeks before the wedding, my parents finally reached out. Not with an apology, don't get your hopes up, but with a very carefully worded message saying they didn't want to miss their daughter's big day. Notice the wording. Not we're sorry. Not we were wrong. Just, they didn't want to miss it. I told them they were welcome to come as guests. Not as planners. Not as contributors. Not with opinions. Just guests. They agreed. My sister. Silence. Absolute silence for almost 2 weeks. And then, 5 days before the wedding, she texted me. Are you sure you don't want to talk before Saturday? I stared at that message for a long time. Because part of me still wanted the movie moment. The tearful reconciliation. The big hug. The I'm sorry. But I've learned something through all of this. Closure doesn't always look cinematic. So I replied. I'm open to talking if it's about moving forward, not rehashing the venue. She asked to meet for coffee. We met. It was awkward. Like 2 co-workers forced into a team-building exercise. And then she surprised me. She didn't fully apologize. But she did say this. I shouldn't have tried to take it from you. I just felt like everything was happening so fast. And Mom kept saying it made sense. That was the closest thing to accountability I think I'm ever going to get. I told her I loved her. But I needed her to understand that loving someone doesn't mean sacrificing yourself every time. She cried. Quieter this time. And then she said she would come to the wedding as a guest if that was still okay. I said yes. Now the wedding day. We hired security. Low-key, professional. You'd barely notice them. But knowing they were there let me breathe. The morning of the wedding, I expected to feel anxious. Instead, I felt calm. My brother showed up early, hugged me, and said, "You ready to marry this guy or what?" And for the first time in weeks, I laughed without that tight feeling in my chest. The venue looked exactly how I pictured it 3 years ago. The flowers. The light. The aisle. All of it. And when I walked in and saw it set up, I almost started crying right there. Not because I won. Not because I kept it. But because I didn't give it up. And that mattered more than I realized. My parents came. They were polite. Distant. My mom cried during the ceremony, real tears, not dramatic ones. My dad hugged my husband afterward and told him to take care of her. My sister came too. She looked beautiful. Pregnant glow and everything. And here's the part that might surprise you. There was no scene. No tension explosion. No dramatic speech. No sabotage. She congratulated us. She even told me the venue really was perfect. Simple. Calm. Almost normal. At one point during the reception, she came up to me and said quietly, "I get it now. That's all." I didn't ask what she meant. I think she meant that boundaries feel cruel when you're used to getting your way. The buffet our friends helped prepare. It was incredible. Messy in the best way. Personal. Full of stories. People kept saying it felt warm and real. My in-laws danced like maniacs. My aunt cried harder than anyone. My brother gave a speech about resilience that had half the room emotional. And my husband, which still feels wild to say, looked at me during our first dance and whispered, "You chose us." And that's when it hit me. This whole thing was never about a venue. It was about choosing the life I'm building over the role I've always played. After the wedding, something shifted. My parents have been careful. Not transformed. Not magically enlightened. But more measured. My sister and I aren't suddenly best friends. But we're talking. Slowly. Without Mom as a middleman. And here's the biggest twist. A week after our wedding, my sister booked a completely different venue for next spring. And she texted me a photo. "It's not yours," she wrote. "But it's ours." That was the first message that felt like my actual sister again. So here's where things stand. I'm married. I didn't lose my venue. I didn't lose my fiancé. And surprisingly, I didn't lose my entire family either. What I did lose was the version of myself who thought keeping the peace was more important than keeping my self-respect. And honestly, that feels like the real beginning. So now I'm curious. If you were in my position, would you have given up the venue to avoid all of this? Or do you think some boundaries are worth the fallout?